We don't always lose people when they stop loving us. Sometimes we lose them when they still do. But love alone isn't a reason to stay. It has to be met, returned, held carefully. She gave everything she could. Grace, patience, presence. She forgave things she never spoke of, waited longer than she admitted. And when she finally let go, it wasn't with bitterness, it was with love. But the moment she walked away, that's when he finally showed up. Too late. Today, we're not talking about breakups. We're talking about that critical moment. When someone stops waiting and someone else starts regretting. Let's talk about how love, when unreciprocated, can still be freeing. Let's talk about why she let go and why he'll carry that lesson forever. She didn't walk away because she was done caring. In fact, it was the opposite. She cared deeply, so much that it broke her heart to leave. But she realized something that too many people realize too late. Caring doesn't mean staying in a place that keeps draining you. Letting go wasn't a sign of weakness. It was clarity. It was courage. It was her finally seeing things for what they were, not what she hoped they might become. For the longest time, she held on because of potential. The potential for him to change. The potential for things to get better. Potential that the love she gave might be enough to wake him up. But you can only live in, maybe, for so long before it starts eating away at your peace. There comes a point where love stops feeling like love and starts feeling like waiting. Waiting for a version of someone they never became. Waiting for consistent affection. Waiting to feel like a priority instead of an option. Letting go wasn't a cold decision. It was one that came after countless nights of overthinking, second-guessing, and justifying his behavior. She didn't want to give up. That wasn't her nature. But she realized there's a difference between fighting for someone and fighting for yourself in a relationship. She had been doing the latter without realizing it. And eventually, she saw that love should never feel like a constant, uphill battle. Love is supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to feel mutual. It's supposed to make you feel more at home in your own skin. Not like you're constantly auditioning for someone's time, affection, or consistency. The strength to let go doesn't show up all at once. It creeps in. It builds through small moments of disappointment, subtle patterns of neglect, and a growing sense that you're the only one trying. And when that strength finally shows up, it feels like grief, not empowerment. But it's the kind of grief that opens the door to peace. She let go with love because she didn't want to hate him. She didn't want to carry bitterness into her future. She wanted to leave clean. She wanted to walk away with her heart intact, even if it was bruised. She let go with love because she knew who she was, and she knew what she deserved. Love isn't supposed to be a punishment you endure. It's a connection you nurture together. And if you're the only one doing the nurturing, it's not a relationship. It's a performance. She was done performing, done proving her worth. She knew her worth, and someone who knows their worth doesn't scream it. They show it by where they stay, and just as importantly, where they walk away. He may have thought she was strong for a long time, strong in the way she tolerated things, strong in the way she always came back. But he mistook her loyalty for permanence. And when she finally let go, not with anger, but with calm, kind finality, he realized she wasn't strong because she stayed. She was strong because she eventually didn't. Letting go wasn't about giving up on him. It was about no longer giving up on herself. She loved him. That was never the question. In fact, for a long time, that love was the reason she stayed. It was the reason she kept hoping, kept trying, kept choosing grace even when she felt tired. But at some point, she realized something deeply painful, something people often ignore because it's uncomfortable to admit. Love alone isn't enough. You can love someone deeply and still feel completely alone next to them. You can love someone and still not be seen. And what she wanted, what she needed, wasn't just love. It was to be understood, valued, chosen every day, not just in words, but in actions. Being in love with someone who doesn't truly see you is one of the loneliest experiences you can have. It's like shouting into a void and convincing yourself that the echo is a conversation. She was doing everything she could to be present, to connect, to keep things alive. But the more she showed up, the more invisible she began to feel. Because love without attention, love without presence, love without effort, it becomes hollow. It becomes a memory of what once was, not something living and breathing in the present moment. He loved her in his own way, perhaps, but his way wasn't enough. Not because it wasn't real, but because it wasn't reaching her. She needed more than occasional affection, more than promises with no follow-through. She needed someone who was in it with her, not someone who dipped in and out depending their mood or convenience. She needed consistency, not intensity. Presence, not performance. It's hard to walk away from someone you love. Even harder when you still believe in who they could be. But she had to ask herself, at what point does waiting become self-abandonment? How long can you keep showing up for someone who never really meets you halfway? She wasn't asking for perfection, just partnership, just someone who listened when she spoke, someone who remembered the little things, someone who saw the effort she was putting in and matched it. But he didn't, and over time she realized she was holding the relationship up on her own. That kind of weight starts to wear on your spirit. It makes you question your worth when the truth is, it was never about her not being enough. It was about him not being ready to meet her at the level she deserved. When she let go, it wasn't because she stopped loving him. She let go because staying meant slowly letting go of herself. It meant accepting a version of love that made her feel small, anxious, unsure. That's not what real love does. Real love brings clarity, not confusion. Peace, not tension. Real love makes you feel like you can breathe, not like you're constantly holding your breath, waiting for something to change. So she chose herself, not in a selfish way, but in a way that said, I refuse to stay where I have to beg to be seen. She walked away with love in her heart, not resentment, because she wasn't angry at him. She was simply done abandoning her own needs to preserve something that wasn't preserving her in return. And in doing that, she reminded herself, and everyone watching, that love isn't proved by how much you endure. It's shown in how well you care for yourself while you care for someone else. And when the balance tips too far, when you're the only one carrying the emotional weight, love becomes a burden instead of a bond. She wanted connection, not survival. Partnership, not guesswork. She wanted to feel like she mattered. And when that didn't happen, she didn't stop loving him. She just started loving herself more. He never thought she'd actually leave. That's the truth he lives with now. He believed her love was permanent, like something he could rely on no matter how careless he became with it. He thought that her loyalty meant she'd always be there, waiting, forgiving, giving more chances. He got comfortable in the space she created, the safety, the softness, the way she made room for him even when he didn't deserve it. And so slowly he stopped showing up in the way she needed, not in one dramatic moment, but in a series of small invisible choices, missed calls, unspoken apologies, emotional distance, promises he didn't keep because he never thought they'd be deal breakers. But what he didn't realize was that every time she was left hanging, every time she felt like she was loving for two people, something shifted in her. Not all at once, but gradually, quietly. The kind of shift you don't see until it's too late. Because the thing about love is, it doesn't usually die with fireworks. It dies in silence. It fades in the spaces where presence should have been. It withers in the gaps between "I'll do better" and actual change. She never wanted to give up on him, but she also didn't want to give up on herself. He thought her patience was infinite, that her heart would always be open, no matter how many times he walked in and out of it. But even the warmest hearts grow cold when they're not cared for. She stayed longer than most would have. She gave him the benefit of every doubt. She believed in his potential long after he gave her reasons not to. And that was his mistake. He mistook her love for permanence, her forgiveness for forgetfulness, her patience for passivity. When she finally let go, it shocked him, not because he didn't see it coming. Deep down, he knew. He had just convinced himself that she'd never have the strength to walk away. He was wrong, and when she did, she didn't do it with anger or drama. She did it with peace, with finality, with love still in her eyes, but no more room left in her soul to keep hoping for what wasn't changing. And that's when it hit him. That's when regret set in, not just for losing her, but for all the moments he took her for granted. All the times she reached for him emotionally and he didn't reach back. All the conversations that could have been healing but were left unspoken. The regret wasn't about one big mistake. It was about everything he didn't do when he had the chance. Now he holds on to the memory of her, replaying it in his mind, not because he expects her to come back, but because he finally understands what he had. And it's not just her he misses, it's the way she made him feel, seen, loved, understood. She loved him in a way that not many people do. And now he knows how rare that kind of love is. He didn't just lose a person, he lost a presence, a softness, a belief in him that he may never find again. It's a cruel truth, but sometimes we don't value what we have until it's gone. Sometimes we don't listen until silence replaces someone's voice. Sometimes we don't appreciate love until it's no longer there to catch us when we fall. And now, he's left holding the weight of everything he didn't say, everything he didn't do, every moment he thought didn't matter. But they did. They all did. And now he knows, too late. Closure doesn't always come with a conversation. It doesn't always look like a long, drawn-out goodbye or a final emotional exchange where everything is said and understood. Sometimes closure is quiet. It's internal. It's the moment someone finally accepts the truth they've been avoiding, even if no one else ever acknowledges it. That's what happened with her. She didn't wait for an apology. She didn't chase clarity that was never going to come. She simply reached a point where the emotional math stopped making sense, and she decided to stop investing in a connection that wasn't investing in her. She had spent so long hoping for change, for effort, for something to shift. Every time things got hard, she believed they could work through it if they just communicated better, if he just cared a little more, showed up a little stronger. But after a while, she realized she was the only one showing up at all. Her conversations turned into monologues, her needs became burdens, and her vulnerability, instead of bringing them closer, only highlighted the growing distance between them. There were so many moments where she could have left. But she stayed, out of love, out of hope, out of that human tendency to believe that if you give more, love more, tolerate more, maybe things will turn around. But she wasn't getting closer to him, she was drifting further from herself. She felt like she was waiting for something that was never going to arrive. And eventually, waiting became exhausting. The silence after every argument, the broken promises, the patterns that never changed. Those things became her answer. People often assume that closure needs to come from the other person, that you need some kind of mutual understanding, a conversation where everything is explained and healed. But she learned the hard way that some people will never give you closure. Not because they're cruel, but because they're not capable of facing what they've done or owning the space they took up in your heart without respecting it. So instead of waiting for words that might never come, she gave herself permission to move forward anyway. Her closure wasn't loud. It didn't involve blaming or pointing fingers. It was quiet, almost invisible. It happened in the way she stopped explaining herself, in how she no longer felt the need to defend her decision to walk away, in the way she stopped hoping he would understand, and instead focused on understanding herself. She didn't need to win an argument or get the last word. Her peace became more important than being right, her healing more important than his realization. And the truth is, the moment she stopped needing him to give her closure, she became free. Free from the cycles, free from the confusion, free from the constant second guessing. She realized that some people won't change, not because they can't, but because they don't have the motivation to when you keep accepting less than you deserve. So she made the decision he never expected. She let go, not with anger, but with love. She let go without a dramatic exit, without one final plea, because real closure doesn't always require participation from both people. Sometimes, it's just one person deciding they're done trying to rewrite the same ending. He might still be wondering what happened, still thinking she'll reach out one more time. But she won't, because she already found her closure. It didn't come through him. It came through self-respect, through reclaiming her energy, through choosing herself in the silence he left her in. And that kind of closure, the kind that doesn't wait for anyone's permission, is the kind that lasts. Regret doesn't come all at once. It creeps in slowly after the damage is done, after the opportunity is gone. That's what happened to him. He didn't lose her in one explosive moment. There wasn't some dramatic breakup or final fight that ended it all. He lost her piece by piece, day by day, in the small moments he dismissed as unimportant. The late replies, the things he forgot, the way he stopped listening when she needed him to hear her the most. At the time, it didn't seem like much. But looking back, he sees it now, how every careless moment stacked on top of the last until the foundation cracked completely. She had always seen more in him than he saw in himself. That was one of the things he loved about her, even if he never said it out loud. She believed in who he could be. She held up a mirror to his potential, and she loved him not just for who he was, but for the man she knew he could become. That kind of love is rare. It's powerful, but it also comes with a responsibility to rise to the occasion, to grow into the version of yourself that someone else already sees. And he didn't do that. He thought he had time. He thought she would always be there, cheering him on, forgiving the missteps, waiting for him to finally become that better version. Now that she's gone, he understands what he missed. Not just her presence, but the space she created for him to feel safe, seen, accepted. He regrets not just losing her, but wasting what she offered. It's not the absence of her voice that stings the most. It's the memory of her silence before she finally left. The way she started talking less, asking for less, hoping for less. That's when she started slipping through his fingers, and he didn't even notice. He had grown so used to her staying that he stopped giving her reasons to. Regret is a cruel teacher. It shows up when you're alone, of your absence, when there's no one left to convince that you've changed. It plays back every moment you didn't show up, every chance you had to make her feel valued and didn't take. It's not just about what happened. It's about what could have happened if you had just done things differently. That's the hardest part. The weight of all the possibilities that were left unrealized. He remembers the things she used to ask for, things he brushed off as being too much or too emotional. Now he realizes she wasn't asking for too much. She was asking for the bare minimum: consistency, presence, kindness. She didn't want grand gestures. She wanted daily respect. And instead of giving her that, he made her feel like her needs were a burden. He sees it clearly now. He knows exactly when he lost her, even if she never said the words. It was in the quiet withdrawal of her hope. The way she started loving him more gently, like someone already preparing to say goodbye. Now, he holds on, not to her because she's not coming back, but to the lessons, to the pain, to the version of himself he should have been when she was still there. And that version of him, the one she believed in, absence, that's the one he's trying to become now, long after she's stopped watching. But that's the thing about regret. It shows up after the applause has faded, after the door has closed, after the chance has passed. And all that's left is the echo of what was and the ache of what will never be. Love isn't proven by how tightly you hold on. It's revealed by how consistently you show up. That's what she eventually understood. She had been in something that looked love from the outsiding, the history, the shared memories, the connection that had once felt electric. But over time, she began to see the difference between hell-bent and being chosen. He was holding on, yes, but he wasn't really there. Not in the way she needed. Not in the way love demands when it's real, present, and alive. He thought that because he didn't leave, that meant he was showing love. That staying physically was enough to prove commitment. But presence isn't about geography. It's emotional, mental, spiritual. She didn't want someone who was just around. She wanted someone who was engaged, who was invested. Someone who paid attention to the little things, remembered what mattered to her, and showed up not only on the good days, but especially when it was hard. That's what love is. Love isn't about simply not walking away. It's about leaning in every day, even when it's inconvenient. She was done mistaking attachment for affection. There's a big difference between someone who doesn't want to lose you and someone who truly values you. He didn't want to let her go, but not because he was committed to growing with her. It was more about what she gave him. Her stability, her warmth, the way she always made him feel understood. He was holding on to what she provided, not necessarily to her. That distinction became impossible to ignore. There's a comfort in familiarity, even when it's not fulfilling. He was comfortable with her presence, with knowing she was there when he needed her. But she was tired of being needed only in moments of convenience. She wanted to be loved, not used as emotional support when he felt low. She wanted to be prioritized, not just kept around as an option. And love, true love, never makes you feel like an option. Eventually, she saw it clearly. He wasn't showing up for the relationship, he was clinging to it. There's a difference. Clinging is rooted in fear. Fear of being alone, fear of change, fear of losing the comfort you've grown used to. But real love is based on freedom. It's a choice made daily to be present, to grow, to evolve together. Love doesn't imprison, it inspires. And she wasn't inspired anymore. She felt stuck. So she let go, not because she stopped loving, but because she started loving herself in a way she hadn't before. He didn't understand at first. He thought that because he was still in it, still saying he loved her, that it should have been enough. But love without action is noise. Words lose their meaning when they're not backed by behavior. She needed more than promises. She needed follow-through. She needed him to show up in the little ways, being emotionally available, asking how she really felt, making space for her needs, and not just his own. But those things didn't happen. And without them, love began to feel like a one-way street. After she left, he realized what he had mistaken for love was really just possession. He had been holding on to the comfort she brought, not committing to the partnership she wanted. She let go because she was no longer willing to carry something that wasn't being carried with her. And now, in the silence, he's left with the truth that love isn't about keeping someone around. It's about showing up when it matters. About being there, not just in body, but in soul. She wanted love that lived in the doing, not just the saying. And when that didn't come, she gave herself the love he never figured out how to give. So, what does this all come down to? She let go. Not because she stopped loving him, but because she started loving herself more. Because love, real love, isn't about how long you hold on. It's about how well you show up. Every day, with presence, with effort, with honesty. He held on with regret, not because he didn't care, but because he waited too long to care in the right way. He realized the value of what he had only after it was gone. And that's the thing about regret. It's the price we pay for not being intentional when it mattered. Let this be a reminder for all of us. Don't wait for someone to walk away before you appreciate what they bring. Don't confuse someone staying with someone being happy. Don't think love will last just because it once burned bright. If you want to keep someone, really keep them. You have to meet them in the present, not with promises, not with potential, but with participation. Because the people who love, with everything they have, they don't leave when they stop caring. They leave when they realize they're the only one who does.